Mini is a brand that prides itself on doing things slightly differently. Things like building a model that only has one rear door in the case of the Mini Clubman. Or creating a limited edition track day weapon like the GP. Well, all of those things are very fine, but when most people who buy hatchbacks buy them with 5 doors, inevitably you've got to give people what they want. This is the brand new Mini 5-door hatch, and I'm curious to find out whether or not it's been worth the wait.
Now, for those of you who are thinking, Aidan, you daft fool, there already is a 5-door Mini. Well, yeah, you're right. It's called the Countryman, but that's where the distinction is. It's a Countryman, it's not a Mini hatch. There's the Clubman, the Countryman, the Coupe, the Paceman. There's all sorts and manners of different types of Mini, and this is the first time there's been a 5-door in the hatch shape. Now, in order to accommodate the 2 rear doors, Mini has had to extend the wheelbase by an additional 72mm. That doesn't sound like an awful lot, does it? But I can assure you it is. Adult passengers in the back will have more leg space, so they'll be more comfortable, and for the first time there's now a 3rd seat in the middle. Granted, it's probably only really usable for adults on short journeys or perhaps a teenager, but nevertheless it does add practicality. So what else has grown up with the Mini? Well, the boot is now 30% bigger than the 3-door version. It holds 278 litres, and as well as that, it's 15mm taller, so you get plenty of headroom. That is very noticeable in the back, because in some Super Minis you have to kind of sit a little hunched over. In this one you can sit nice and tall and you still have plenty of headroom. And then the interior has also been widened as well, so it doesn't feel quite so cramped in here either. This is a much more practical solution for somebody who really wants a Mini but found the 3-door to be a bit too small. So while all of those things have grown up in the Mini, where has it been downsized? Well, in the engine. It has now a 3-cylinder, yes, a 3-cylinder 1.5 litre diesel engine. Gone is the 4-cylinder 1.6, and in steps this smaller and more efficient unit. But fear not, if you are like me and have a bit of a traditional head and think 3-cylinder, oh, it's going to be a bit puny, it's not. It has 116 brake horsepower and it produces just 95 grams of CO2, which means it's only going to cost €180 to tax per year. It's plenty powerful, plenty torquey, and it's a joy to drive. I've just stopped in a cul-de-sac because I've spotted a pepper white Mini Cooper, and I'm going to parallel park between it and another car behind it. So let me just drive up alongside this parallel parking space, and I've engaged something called Park Assist, which is going to essentially park the car for me. So once it spots that there is a car park space available, maybe if I keep going, here we go. To begin parking maneuver, stop the vehicle. So I've done that. Now it says, begin the parking maneuver, engage reverse gear and take your hands off the steering wheel. So let me get over into reverse, hands are off the steering wheel, and it says reverse slowly and brake manually. Okay, I'm reversing, I'm not touching the steering wheel. You can see the pepper white Mini there, still not touching the steering wheel. I'm going very slowly, very gingerly. Yes, indeed, this is quite bizarre. And the parking sensors are working as well. They're telling me to reverse slowly and to brake. Okay, there's a car behind me. I can see, oh, it's bleeped to tell me that I need to move forward. There's an awful lot of stuff going on at the moment. It's turning the wheel back the other way so we can get into the car park space. This is freaky. I've done this before on other cars, but it still amazes me. I'm going to reverse a bit more again just to get nice and close to the curb, all the while making sure I don't crash into the car behind me. And then it's going to do one last adjustment forward, and voila. I'm parked. Brilliant. Now, how do I get out? I have to rely on my own skills to try and get out now. Ooh. Am I as good as the Mini? That's okay. They're called bumpers, not avoiders. There we go. Phew! The pressure was on. What a cracking little device. Kind of expensive, but worth it.
The price for the parking sensors and the ability for the Mini to park itself comes in at €970. This Mini Cooper D had almost €10,000 worth of extras on it. It had things like a Chili Pack and the Media XL Pack, which includes SatNav, and Mini Connected, which allows you to use full functionality of your apps through the Mini without having to use your phone. Yes, you're probably not going to spec your Mini to quite that standard, but it does show that you can get a Mini with the same level of spec as a very high-end luxury car.
It's been quite a while since I've driven a Mini. In actual fact, the last time I drove one was when I used to own one. It was back in 2007 and I had a 03 Mini Cooper S. It was red with a white roof and white wheels and a Chili Pack, and it looked fantastic, and it went like the proverbial off a shovel. And this one really isn't any different. But this time, I now have 3 driving modes. So I can be very fuel efficient and put it into green, and that means I'm going to use less fuel. I can put it into mid mode, which gives me typical Mini driving fun, or I can put it all the way over into sport, which is where I've left this car because it is cracking good fun to drive. It gives me maximum go-kart feel, shows an icon of the Mini, and it gives me a rocket ship engine and a go-kart-like chassis. In any other car, that would be gimmicky, but in the Mini, it's totally justified and it adds to the bit of fun. As soon as I got my hands on the keys to this Mini, I drove it straight over to my parents to show them because I knew they'd absolutely love the car. And once my mum saw the colour, she told me a story about my granddad that I'd never heard before. Sometime in the early 1970s, my granddad was on the verge of buying a Mini in the 1970s equivalent of this colour. It was known back then as Harvest Gold. By today's standards, it doesn't look great, but back then I'm sure it was fantastic. However, my granddad delayed in buying the car for so long that by the time he went to get it, it was sold. Now, it's easy in those situations to think, you know what, it probably wasn't worth the wait anyway, but I have a sneaking suspicion that the Harvest Gold Mini for my granddad definitely would have been worth the wait. And even though this 5-door version has been over 50 years in the making, it has certainly been worth the wait. It retains the essence of what a Mini really is, but now it adds even more practicality. And that's a great combination.